Namaste, Assalamu alaikum, Shalom, Mir, Jai Janindra, Satnam, Ni Hao, Buenos Dias, Buenos Noches, Etsche, Konnichiwa, Sabadikra, Salangwa, Esh, Agape, Akwaba, Dokmin, what up, though? So, this is a response, and it's 1 a.m. I'm in a refugee camp in Denmark, and I am responding to the incident that occurs this past week. Will Smith, Chris Rock, and all that. Contrary to opinion or testimonies provided by celebrities traveling abroad at the moment, nobody's talking about that shit here. The majority of people don't speak English primarily, so there's other things, other priorities. So that being said, I recognize it's a polarizing thing at the moment, or a sensational thing at the moment, seemingly in the U.S. It's indicative of the very sick nature or sickness that exists within the U.S. when it comes to race relations. So that's the preface. That being said, the first thing to say is that in no occasion is violence appropriate. And that being said, it is appropriate to recognize the violence that is committed against black women for hundreds of years within the United States. That has yet to be stopped, that has yet to be reconciled, that has yet to be addressed, that it has yet to be accounted for, that has yet to experience proper justice. So that's the violence that should be highlighted at this moment. And that's the violence that Chris Rock steps on when he makes the joke. It is the violence against women's hair, self-hatred, that is pervasive and intrinsic, insipid within American culture. Love and peace to all Americans. That's just the truth. So that's where it begins, and that's what one of the reasons why I'm saying this right now is because I have yet to see anybody talk about that. In all the things that I've seen on YouTube, and I know it's algorithm bias and everything else like that, but all the 90% of the posts that I see and just doing general searches just talk about are against Will Smith and championing Chris Rock without addressing the violence that Chris Rock commits by just saying that joke. It's not a personal individual joke alone. It is stepping on the issue, the experience of black women's hair, and so and it's not a Ricky Gervais type situation, because Ricky Gervais is increasingly skilled in the commentary that he does, increasingly just. Chris Rock is increasingly opportunistic and somewhat vengeful. So that being said, like I said, 90% of the responses that I've seen are just robotic sheep mentality type responses, of finding an opportunity to hate on somebody who's risen through the ranks of the scraps, the crumbs that are provided to black people within the United States. So that being said, we'll start with the first act, which was the joke. So like I said, right there, just addressing black women's hair and making it's not the same old joke. It's addressing an experience that is still it's not even an open wound. It's beyond like a cancerous growth. It's foundational within the fabric of U.S. society. So that's the first. Chris Rock is opportunistic on that respect. Further, in a personal sense, I'll say two things as a side note, as a preface, side note, quasi. I saw two responses. One from an actor whose name, with all due respect, I have difficulty recognizing. He did, I think, a film called Baby Boy back in the 90s or early 2000s. But he's an actor, younger. Actually, he's probably about my age, actually. But he was one of the first reactions that I saw. That was basically saying that he understood what Will Smith was saying. And he also referenced the opening monologue that Chris Rock does on the at the Oscars 6 years ago, where he also insults Jada Smith. And this is when Everybody was boycotting the Oscars, and Rick Ross, Chris Rock, whatever. All due respect, that was just whatever. Anyways, Chris Rock insults Jada Pinkett Smith, saying that she wasn't invited, whatever else. So, and why is he doing that? He seems to have something personal against Will Smith and Jada Smith. I'm not getting into all this. This is all gossip stuff, and so this is why it's nonsensical. But when it becomes so pervasive, it's like, and when when the core issue is not addressed, that's when it becomes appropriate for. I want to say something like reputable or mindful or something like that without being too egotistical or condescending, but for people who are concerned or dedicated to increasingly essential matters to respond. So anyways, that being said, Chris Rock seemed to have something against specifically, personally, Jada Smith, or Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith. It may be because association with Martin Lawrence. I don't want to get into speculation because it's all gossip type stuff, so it's unessential. But he seems to have something and taking opportunities of doing that. And this is that's the beginning act. We're gonna get to Will Smith. He's wrong. But we'll get to that in a second, God willing. But Chris Rock seems to have something personal against the Smiths. And Chris Rock also seems to be have self-hatred. But anyways, the brother who made a comment response to this pointed that out in the monologues, that this isn't just something that happened overnight. A lot of people want to talk about, it's just a joke, this, that. No, bullshit. That's bullshit. And that's all part of the race facade, the race relations facade, and everything else like that. Part of the sickness as well. And it's just anyway. So there's that. The second response that I just saw, actually interestingly enough, and I'm somewhat impressed, is T.I. Now T.I. basically said nothing, but he was diplomatic, and I appreciate that. And the thing he said, honest, was that he's been in a situation where he said things that probably people want to smack the shit out of him for, and he's been in positions where he's wanted to smack the shit out of somebody. So he's been in both of those situations. He said he's no better than either one. He identifies with either one. He champions both brothers, and that's the important thing. Love and peace to Chris Rock. Love and peace to Will Smith. That's important. The most important thing in this scenario immediately is to emphasize that, and reconciliation. Puff Daddy ain't the one to do it, to be honest, but love and peace to Puff Daddy, or I can't say Puff Daddy. What's his name? Sean Combs. Love and peace to him as well. Anyways, T.I. provides that response, so I appreciate that. It's diplomatic. He doesn't say anything one way. He doesn't say anything was wrong or right or anything. But he identifies what he's done, and so he's not in a position to judge anybody else accordingly. So I think that's the most honest, and also diplomatic and fair. Because both cats are wrong in that situation, but fewer people are. There's an imbalance about in the response to the actions of both. Because I haven't heard anybody say that Chris Rock was in the wrong, to directly acknowledge that. People like the actor I mentioned before, he basically refers to that, saying like, "Yo, he went over the line. Like everybody's got a limit." So that's something about Chris Rock. He seems to have something personal against Chris Smith, and also, sellout. But the thing is, everybody in this scenario is a sellout. With all due respect, I don't mean everybody's going to heaven in my belief, in the belief I share. So it's not a judgment call in that respect. But everybody's a sellout. So. But Chris Rock, I think perhaps if there's a degree, Chris Rock probably is further along that line, and maybe somewhat resentful, and so has opportunity to degrade somebody else, a safe target, and so he took that opportunity. But when he did that, he stepped on centuries of unanswered violence, and so Will Smith responds within the context of his relationship with his wife. So. Anything else about Chris Rock and his action? It's not just a joke, and a lot of white actors and comics are criticizing Will Smith for not taking a joke. Bullshit. But there's too much to go into that. It's just the duplicity, hypocrisy, lies, deceit, deception, delusion, and violence. But like I said, too much for that to get into that. Now about Will Smith. wrong for going up there and slap. He was wrong. It's understandable. He wants to stand up for the honor of his wife, regardless of what his relationship, the nature of relationship, what else. I don't get into the gossip stuff, but regardless of what the nature of his relationship with his wife, stand up, respect, and stand up for the honor. So there's that. Now that being said, him smacking Chris Rock in the face, that's wrong. It's wrong. Plain and simple. What he should have done, and well, I shouldn't say what he should have done. What I wouldn't have been in this situation to begin with, because I know better. I know better. I ain't no better, but I know better than to be in that position. Meaning, well, I'll get to that in a minute. What would be the prudent decision or prudent action is to walk out. If someone finds something disagreeable, it's not worth it. The Oscar award is not worth it. Whatever award he won, I didn't even know there was an award or movie or whatever else. But whatever he was up for, walk out. If it's a matter of honor for your wife, yo, Jada, let's roll, let's go. That's it, and that's it. And whatever may be. But there it is. That's the right, the honorable thing to do. So that's it. No excuse for the violence. It's wrong. And so anything that happens after that, I'm not making rationalizations for anything. It was wrong. So plain and simple. Now, people's responses to this. Abstaining from addressing the violence that Chris Rock steps on. Again, taking the opportunity to just take Will Smith down. It's the whole predatory towards celebrities and others and everything else like that. So all that's bullshit. Oh, the important thing to recognize is all black celebrities responding to this and hating on Will Smith. Again, sellouts, Uncle Toms, shucking and jiving, and just finding an opportunity to gain favor and graces within the white hierarchy, Hollywood, media, and additionally. And so, here's the opportunity to be the favorable black sheep, robot, whatever. And so a lot of sellouts pursuing that course. And so that's what I've been actually paying attention to, is seeing where the lines are being drawn. There are a lot that are being displayed, responding against Will Smith. There are a number who are being increasingly diplomatic. There are some who are shucking and jiving and just like making fun without saying anything, without taking a side, but just saying, "Oh, did you see that? Oh," and not saying anything one way or the other. I'm going to call one out, Fat Joe, on that one. I didn't even finish watching what he was saying because it wasn't worth it. But respect, peace, and blessings to him as well. Love and peace to Fat Joe. But again, anyways, that's it. So a lot of sellouts, and that's basically what the situation is, because the reason why Will Smith didn't walk out is because he's vested in the system. He's vested within the machinery, and so his reaction was somewhat of a dishonest one, because he's still holding on to the trappings. So that's the challenge. That's the difficulty. And all the celebrities and everybody else is also feeding from the same train, or whatever you want to call it, and so has to be very careful about how people respond, and additionally, but all the actors, Whoopi Goldberg, Wanda Sykes, whoever else, I mean, it's all sellouts. Everybody but literally, like, to be a celebrity, it requires essentially being a sellout, and I'm speaking the somewhat hard words, but it's because I'm just seeing so much messaging that avoids that, and I'm seeing so much. I talk critically about critical discourse, the protests and everything else. Like the whole thing is just to call it delusional is somewhat antagonistic, but it's unhealthy. And I ain't any better. I am not any better. But I'm just calling it for what it is. I ain't perfect. I'm doing the best I can in this life, and additionally, but it's just futile. Like the whole protest thing, race, whatever, is just futile. and cats are playing a game, and it's difficult to take anybody seriously or honestly because cats are just enveloped in the game, and it's until people are willing to let go of the trappings, the comforts that are provided by playing the game, then that cats can be taken seriously and honestly. Until then, it's like, yo, stop. Like it's like a wife who continues returning to the husband that beats her, and then when it happens, then cries again and wants people to be sorrowful and pitiful and everything else like for her. And when she has the opportunity to leave, she goes back to him. Or if it's a husband going back to a mentally abusive wife or whatever else, it's the same situation. So you can't take cats seriously, even when cats are genuine and hurtful. So that's much of what I said. Oh, here's the other thing also. Just like these are like afternotes. Will Smith partying after the. I mean, first of all, his apology was disgenuine. I mean, he was just being opportunistic. He got his reward. He got his award or whatever, at least for the moment. And I didn't watch all the speech or whatever, but it seemed as though he like apologized to the Academy and everybody else except for Chris Rock. So that was disgenuine. But even then, like. The thing that comes to mind at this moment is the line "Burn Hollywood Burn," Public Enemy featuring Big Kane and the artist formerly known. I can't. I'm being so sharp today, but O'Shea Jackson, I'll say. But in the line, O'Shea Jackson says. Burn Hollywood Burn, and then starts making Hollywood movies. But my point, what was my point for that? I was talking about the responses. Will Smith partying after the thing. Oh yeah, okay. So the acceptance speech was BS, and partying after the thing, like, no, I mean, that was just. There has to be another word for cringe. When things are just like. Cringe is like responding to something that one individually does. But what is it when like a whole group of people are doing something and nobody sees it or nobody acknowledges it? It's like collective cringe or whatever. But anyways, that's the thing. Like to see that, like, wow, loss of words. 1 a.m. It's all going on 2 a.m. now. To see small, what's it called? Flash. Wow. To see brief videos of Will partying with his Oscar in hand and everything else like that, singing "Summertime," and additionally, like, nah, like, do you not recognize what's happening at this moment? And the people around you, the people who are advising you, and additionally, it's cold out here, y'all. It's past. It's near the 8th month in the Holy Earth calendar. It's in April at this moment, and there's zero signs of spring at this moment. The trees have yet to bud. There are some flowers, but it's still it's below zero at the moment. The Big Dipper is above me though. How about that? But yeah, so partying and dancing with the Oscar at hand, like, let it go. And to see people, I guess it's to be expected among celebrities, but to see people still like grasping on to like the strings that Hollywood is dangling and holding it in front of people and playing that game, it's just like, that's not lasting very long. Well, I'm not trying to like I'm not trying to like be prophesize here, but it seems very unreal. We are by a military base, and there's periodic what's it called, range, shooting range nearby. So it sounded like there was something happening at the moment, but it's night. That don't stop. But anyways, all right. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else to cover on this joint. I said much of it because much of people have yet to. So I think that's much. That's much of it. Yeah. The other thing also, again, like I said before, divide and conquer within people of African ancestry. In this particular topic, a lot of people flaming the fire. It's interesting to see how many people of other ethnicities are weighing in and like assume some type of propriety in being able to speak critically about people without one addressing what the primary predominant issues are, and basically just being another voice of European mainstream. Love and peace to all peoples of all ethnicities: European, African, Middle East, Asian, Native, and additionally. But it's interesting to see that, and it's like activist splaining. So much of Black culture is appropriated by the activist scene, and without the deference, without the respect, without the knowledge and the roots, and additionally, and so when activists explain things like Black suffering, and additionally to elders like myself, it's beyond like just disrespect. It's beyond even like ridiculous or humorous or whatever else. It's just like sign of the times. And whenever we're dealing with the younger generation, we have nobody to blame but ourselves. So we can't take it out on the younger generation. And so it's a matter of how to communicate with younger generation that seems to be oblivious of the disrespect, oblivious of what it means to have deference, and the necessity of deference in having a proficient, appropriate conversation. So patience, constancy, honesty, compassion, modesty, all them things. So anyways, that's in this particular instance of the brother Rock and brother Smith. It's in the instance of the activist scene. It's in the instance of all life. It's communication, relationship. So that being said, I think that's much of what I have to say at this point. I'm getting into that scenario of just continuing on. So namaste, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mir, jai janindra, satnam, zaijen, adios, che chaklis, sayonara. Metta Samadhi, Salangwa Pyongwa Eshwa Sol, Agabiki Irini, Esimpe na Asamuje, Kele Ufred. One love and peace, happiness and liberation.